Hey guys, it's Coach KJ and Dr. Felicia here today. It's happy October. October is a great month because it's my birthday month. We're actually here just talking once again, introducing ourselves. Today we're going to do the big intro. This is October is ADHD Awareness Month, and I just want to highlight there are three criteria for ADHD. It's inattentiveness, hyperactivity, and impulsiveness. But just through conversation, just through engagement with other people, those symptoms, those behaviors can occur just based on the context of what's going around in their environment. And that's why Dr. Felicia is here, because she's worked with women's studies and, hip hop culture and sexuality and so many other things, nutrition, etc. Just really unpacking the context of things. So today what we want to do is we want to do the big intro, like who's Felicia, who's Kelly, who's the doctor, who's the coach, and just find out a little bit more about who we are and our upcoming podcast. And I'll read the intro for you for the podcast towards the end of our interview. So hi, Dr. Felicia. Can you hear me?
Hi everyone. Hope everyone's well.
Okay, I thought you froze. I was like, oh, not again, not again. So I wanted to talk about just a couple of basics of why we want to do this podcast and how we want to help listeners and that kind of stuff. So one of the things that we're going to do is it's going to be moving forward with more options. What do you think of when you hear the word options? What does that mean to you?
Well, it means to me it's, providing us with some tools, with some solutions that we can, implement in our lives and be able to, as our selling point is, to move forward. So when I think about it, I think about, readily available things that people can, feel and touch and access, pretty quickly, especially with some of the tough topics that we'll be talking about. We do want to make sure that listeners and viewers have an opportunity, to utilize all of the things that are out there that they may not know or have access to or not learned. This is a place for them to learn these new tools and to put them in their lives and to move forward successfully.
That is so powerful what you said about accessibility, because I think sometimes we give people, options, not realizing, look, they may not have, the tools that are needed to get to that option. So the option may be clear cut for you. All you got to do is XYZ, but the person you're talking to may have a different set of skills, resources, influencers, etc. So that opportunity may not be accessible. So giving them more options so that are accessible will give them more access to the solutions that they need to move forward. I love that definition. That's why she's the professor. That's why she's the professor. So with that being said, what is your uh-oh, you can jiggy with it on the screen. I can't see you.
Okay, I don't.
Wait, let's see if you can fix it. I'm gonna talk.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's getting like kind of
Yeah,
funky.
keep talking.
Keep talking? Okay, I'll keep talking. So I wanted to know, what are some of your internal goals with helping people find these solutions and the options? Like, what excites you? Like, why do you want to see people get better? You know what, Dr. Felicia, listen, I love you. I can't, because I want everybody. Okay, I was gonna say I couldn't do it unless if they could see your face too. Okay, cool. So what are some of your internal goals? Like, why do you think this is important to you to help other people?
Well, and I'll give you a great example. A great example was this weekend. I was at a homegoing service, and one of the individuals that was sitting at our table was talking about the Facebook page, Get Your Health Back on Track. And it was interesting to hear her focus in on, this idea of, one, healthy eating, but two, how can you engage in a very simple way to do it and not be very complicated. So she was talking about, how she learned, about different foods and how to eat them in different ways and preparation and being more thoughtful about what it is that she's eating versus just, eating whatever might be available, but being very thoughtful about, what she's purchasing, if she's eating out, what are the best options. So, part of my goal with that platform has been to provide easy resources. And my resources come from a lot of places, both research, places like you can go on, even simple places like a Pinterest, which will have recipes, or little factual tidbits that people might not be able to find, but they can go to that page and see it. So, part of my goal is to, make sure that people have again accessibility, but then they feel confident enough to try, even if it doesn't work the first time. Try, maybe that's not your cup of tea. Try something else. Maybe it's a fruit that you've never seen before, like jackfruit, or dragon fruit, which dragon fruit, oh my gosh, it looks just like Kool-Aid, back in the day, but it definitely does not have the harmful side effects, of Kool-Aid. So my goal really is to share and inspire people to eat healthier and eat as close to natural as they can.
So tell me a little bit about the site, Get Your Health on Track. Tell me about it. What does it look like? How does somebody access it? I mean, I know, but I'm just saying.
So, oh yeah. So the site came about as a result of just myself, wanting to really look at some very natural, clean things to eat, so that any of the issues I was having at the time, I was working on my blood pressure. I did not want any medication. So that was really kind of the tipping point that, helped me to say, okay, well, I can't be the only person, who's exercising and in pretty good shape, but my blood pressure's numbers don't reveal that. So there's got to be some other things going on in addition to that's making that inflammation. And so Facebook was the easiest place to do it, just to create a page and then just, very simply post things that I found. One of the first things I think I did was this whole discussion on sugar. And that may be something we will expand on later, but this whole idea of how much sugar's in our food and how that affects blood pressure and, people who, are diagnosed with diabetes or heart disease or, other, metabolic types of illnesses. So part of what inspired me to do that was to just put, even if it only helped one person, put information people can also follow up and research for themselves, have conversations with their medical providers, and then try. And it's amazing how many people read it. And then when I see people, either friends or someone else I might have met through another connection, will, share, oh, I like your site. You have great stuff on there. I've tried, this and that and the other. And I always encourage people when they do try something new to share with the group. And then I created, we have a YouTube page and, of course, Instagram, which is linked to the Facebook page. So the Facebook is easy, is very easy to do. The YouTube page are, very simple things. Maybe I'm running, maybe I've cooked something and showing the ingredients. So, I've tried to keep it really simple and not so complicated that, people can't sift through what it is that I'm sharing.
I love it. I love it. So my inspiration is I'm a communicator. I'm looking at this, right? Not a vanity moment, but I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh my God, I look so much like my mother. Like I'm just looking
Wow.
at this. I'm like, yeah, I see my mother's face in this. And my mom's deceased, but my mom, I'm an only child. And people are like, oh, you look like your mom, you look like your mom, you look like your mom. I'm like, whoa, that's like shovel right there. So for me, my mom was a keep everybody involved, like no child left behind. Like she was probably like the poster child for no child left behind. and she
Right,
wanted to make sure that everybody had access to whatever it was, as a teacher.
right,
And her big thing was sometimes kids miss key opportunities because they can't effectively communicate what they want or need or etc. So my big thing is in honor my mom, thinking about how to help more people effectively communicate what they need, and also how to make sure people are hearing you, because I can tell you 50,000 times something, but if I'm talking to you and your goal is to convince me of whatever the point is, because have you ever talked to somebody and you're telling them something, and at the end of the conversation they still say what they said in the beginning, you're like, they did not listen to one thing I said. so
no,
so I mean, I'm just kidding, that like never happens, but the goal for me is to help people more effectively communicate what
mhm,
their needs are, and also what their strengths are. I'm really good at this, so I want to do more of this, to clinicians, teachers, parents, whomever. But at the same time, make sure that the people they're talking to understand them.
right,
Because once again, like I said, sometimes you can be talking to people, telling them something, but if they don't, if they're so rigid in what they want,
right.
it's like, then you just wasted your time. Um,
That's cool.
why do you think helping is so important?
Well, I think we all have a bit of an obligation, especially if we are utilizing platforms, to share, whether it's health tips or mental health, but we all have a responsibility to share. One of the things I think about what we're doing and about this journey I've been on is how much I don't know. And I can only imagine other people might be in some of the same spots. So if I'm not helping and sharing what I'm learning, how will other people like me find out that, material or, tips and things? So part of it is just a responsibility to help others and share information and, continue to help us all, be at the bottom of it, the healthiest that we can be. But again, that requires what you just mentioned, communication, but it also requires us to, have kind of a goal to help and help in situations where I might not have 5 years ago. But I'm in a place now that I can really communicate it in a way that people will embrace it. Because I
Mhm.
know anytime we're talking about health or mental health, even though people may have access to information, they have to be able to embrace it and not see it as a roadblock of, oh, okay, well, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next week, or I'll do it whenever it is you're going to do it. And you look up and it's a year, and maybe you didn't embrace it at that moment, but then you can always, go back and say, okay, well, I'll try this one baby step and see if that will open the door for you to, continue to get better. So, helping for me, and I grew up with my mom, probably like your mom, who she worked in what was then 4-H, where she was going out in the community helping families, prepare meals, organize their homes, in a way where they could, be in a safe space, but, also be able to take care of themselves, their children, and the space that they lived in.
Um, I was what why this is so important to me is I was blessed to be exposed to polarized, everything. You name it, it was polarized. So I
Mm,
grew up in East Orange, New Jersey, which was probably 95% Black where I grew up. Um, but I moved to Parsippany, which I was the only African American in elementary school. My high school had 1,700 students, but only 16 were African American and was predominantly white. So I was exposed to, and my best friends were Jewish. So I was exposed in that realm. When I lived in East Orange, my grandfather was a Pentecostal pastor. Well, even when I moved out of East Orange, but I'm just saying he was a Pentecostal pastor. My mother was Methodist. I went to a Catholic school. And then when I moved to Parsippany, my best friends were Jewish. Um,
mhm,
I live in the South, but I'm from the North. So I have a lot of that Northern flair, but I'm in a Southern environment. So
Right.
God has always enabled me to be in very polarized environments where people have different opinions, completely different opinions. My mom was a staunch Democrat, my dad was a staunch Republican. And so, with that being said, I believe that I've kind of been gifted with the ability to hear both sides.
Mhm.
And when you can hear both sides, it's easier to find a happy medium, right? So when I go into a
Right.
conversation, I'm not going in with the objective of convincing you to believe what I believe. I'm going into a conversation to educate you, to hear you, and to educate you and to answer whatever question you have. Like if you don't believe it, if you're not going in that direction, that's fine. Tell me what direction you want to go and I want to help you. So it's really important for me to help people know that no matter what their opinion is, it's valid. It's their perception of reality. It's important to them. Their context may be completely different from everyone else's, so their understanding and their picture, whatever, may be completely different. And just helping to support them in that environment, helping to say if somebody says, XYZ, I want to help them find the resources to be successful in XYZ. I don't want to push them to X. I don't want to push them to Z. I want to say, if this is where you are, this is what you need for sustainability, right? Not just that push, because sometimes we'll just push them and knock them over. But what you want to do is you want to give them that sustainability. Where do you think
Correct.
you got these values from? Like this importance of health and helping people and service and all the good things. Where do you think you got that, or where you think you learned that?
Yeah. I know like I said, I know I've got some of that, of course, from my mom, but I grew up, you know, right on the edge of I guess integration. And so a lot of what I saw from my teachers were their ability to help and to help in this transition of some of us in schools. I never went to a school that was one particular cultural group. So by the time I went to, elementary, middle school, high school, schools were already integrated. So we had great teachers who really understood, particularly the African American teachers, understood this need to make sure that we all had, no matter what our cultural backgrounds, we all had what we needed. So that helping spirit really came from being in spaces where I could see it and then be the recipient of all of that, nurturing and help, in the classroom and on the, athletic field because I was a athlete too. So I think a lot of why I am in the educational field and I'm still on college campuses helping students is from, that early exposure I had as a young person that you can help and have fun, enjoy. I'm still in contact with a couple, two of my teachers, particularly one teacher, really still in contact with him and, his whole um, background of helping us and still helping us, in the extent that we can, do the best that we can do, no matter, what profession or job we have at this time. So that's where a lot of that has come from for me is, this early child, my early
Wow.
childhood. I'm not quite
Look at
sure what that is.
How fabulous. Hi, I'm Carola Gonzalez,
Uh,
a professional makeup artist based in
okay,
Hollywood.
what is
And today I'm going to be
going
applying
on?
a lip stain
I
using
have,
wonder blading with a lip.
there we
Something
go.
about a makeup
I'm not,
artist, I hear.
yeah, I'm like, what is that? And yeah, I'm gonna flash in and out because my computer is doing whatever that is. I don't know what that is. So please forgive me. All right, here we go. Let's see if it'll let me come back in because I can see you fine.
Okay, there you
Yeah.
go.
So there I am. I'm back online. Yeah, technology. Yeah, see it. I'm not sure what that is. So I'll keep trying. I keep trying to pop in and pop out. But Zoom, thank you for at least putting my name up there and you all can hear me. Technology. Wow.
We know you're here. So I was gonna say, so where I learned all this is my mom was a link. My mom was in links, but she taught and she taught in Newark, New Jersey. And where she taught in Newark, New Jersey, I mean, there were sometimes, my mom would buy Christmas presents for the parents and the children because she knew that the kids could not afford to buy the single mom a Christmas gift. So my mom would make sure she bought perfume, clothes, whatever it was for the parents and the children, right? And as a part of being with
Okay.
the links, so she would have kids come up from Newark and everything, stay at the house, etc. But as a part of being in links and being in other environments, she also realized that some people need physical healing, some people need mental healing, not mental, but emotional support, etc. But there was a barrage of healing that needed to occur. And my mother, excuse me, had the agility to say, you know what, no matter what the economic status is, no matter where you're living, no matter who your friends are, everyone needs help and support. And so I like the fact that we're doing a podcast that is not driven by economics. Do you know what I mean? So somebody making a whole lot
Right.
of money, somebody making a medium amount of money, somebody making a this or this or this, somebody living in on the north, in the south, the east, the west, somebody who speaks this language and that language, but also has some affiliation with English because we're in English, because we're in multiple countries, we're in 70 countries, has an access this same exact information. When Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook, what he said was, he created Facebook because he felt as though only people of a certain socioeconomic status and network were able to have a voice. He wanted to create Facebook to have everybody have a voice. So no matter who you knew, no matter what you did, you would have an opportunity to express your opinion on that platform. And I like the fact that once again, we have access to so many different people. So you want to make sure you get it right. You want to make sure you're not, that you're not biased in any kind of way, shape, or form. So
That
I
sounds
learned from
wonderful.
my mom. I learned from my mom and my dad. My dad's phenomenal. I don't want to make it sound like my mom was there, my dad wasn't there. I learned from my mom and my dad that all people can appreciate support. So I like the fact that we'll be working with all people. That was one of them.
Yes, me too. Me too.
What does success look like? What do you think success in this podcast will look like? We have about 4 minutes left.
Well, I think success is going to, of course, look like us having the opportunity to help and for us to create a platform for, those kind of conversations around support, around topics that, for many years and today still continue to be a bit taboo, still having conversations about mental health, in populations of color, particularly African American communities. Um, this whole idea, I think we were talking about earlier about anxiety and depression and acknowledging that people are, of course, depressed. People are of course, have anxiety about, a number of things, but to acknowledge it in a way that people are able to access, and I'm using that word again, people are able to access the help without shame. It's like, oh, I shouldn't be depressed because I have this, that, and the other. And that's, of course, we know as practitioners, that's not true. So success for me would be someone, who happens to, you know, tap into a conversation we have, and it allows them to acknowledge whatever they may be experiencing and be able to utilize those solutions that we're able to offer. So that's what success really feels like to me. It's like, the old folks saying, you help one, that's enough.
Success to me is people understanding that they're unique individuals, right? We're not all one size fits all. So if somebody is different or unique in their expectations, their skills, their interests, it doesn't make them uh it doesn't necessarily give them that doesn't necessarily give them a mental health diagnosis. I'll give you an example. My best friend just moved to North Carolina, and we went to a place a restaurant, and it had a DJ there. And so when we walked in, she started dancing, and I was like, "Oh my God, yeah!" And I started dancing too. The whole night, we were there for maybe an hour, hour and a half. The whole night, no, maybe an hour. We were the only two people that danced. And I explained to her, I said, if you had never come here, if you had never moved here, I would be the only person dancing by myself. I said, or I would just sit on the side wanting to dance, but I would not dance because, like I said, nobody else would be dancing. So having your unique style, your unique interests, we're unique. And sometimes you don't have to blend. And just because your environment doesn't understand you, that doesn't give you a mental health diagnosis. That just means you have different interests. Like, I'm not a line dancer. I don't necessarily like rap music. I like house music. And this DJ happened to be playing house music. So I forgot to put that part in there too.
Mm.
And so because we got excited about house music, that doesn't mean that we're different. It just means that we were expressing an interest. And so I like the fact that we're going to give people an opportunity to express their interests.
Yes, I do too. I do really look forward to the opportunity to be able to, even, I know exploit might not be the right word, but to exploit again everybody's uniqueness and our capacity, to help one another in this journey. So I'm really excited about the possibilities.
And understand what they need as far as immune system, as far as tangible insight, meaning MRIs, neurological assessments, because once again, neurology is a physical change in the brain, and not just looking at things from a one-dimensional perspective of psychology. So really and truly understanding the whole person. I'm really excited about um, that dimension, because when people understand the whole picture, they are losing their diagnosis, they're losing their symptoms,